his staff held high. This is the same staff that he threw on the floor in front of Pharaoh. And it turned into a snake. It's the same staff that Moses stood at the Red Sea, held it up, and the waves parted for the children of Israel to pass through. It's the same stick that he struck the rock and water flowed. It's this staff that Moses held with the help of Aaron and Hur so that Joshua could win the battle. It's kind of a sacramental. We Catholics understand sacramentals, things of the world that put us in touch with God and help us relate to God. That's all fine. Now, however, when Jesus wants to tell us about persistent prayer, he does not talk about Moses. He does not go to the center of people's faith in Israel, to the hero of their faith. He doesn't go to the center to tell us about prayer. No. He goes far from the center. He goes to the edge of the circle. He goes to the place where those who are most vulnerable and marginal live. When Jesus tells us about prayer, he tells us about this poor widow. Not how Moses prayed, but how this woman prayed for what is just. Her prayer focused to the center, to those who held the power, in this case, that wicked judge. But there are so many in the world today who do hold the power and who continue to keep isolated to the edge those who live in persistent hope that someday their voice will be heard and that justice and the justice of God will be done. Jesus invites his disciples so they keep praying and not grow weary. To stay in them, to keep praying, to keep being persistent. Not only raising our voice to God, but raising our voice to those who are in the center, so often ignoring the people on the edges, so often ignoring that poor widow. How often the other people living on that edge are all those lepers. It's the sinners, it's the poor, marginalized people. That, when Jesus wants to teach me how to pray, he doesn't tell me a darn thing about a priest. Because we know they weren't so good at praying either, That's not the example he uses. He doesn't use the example of the priest standing in the temple praising God. No, in that other parable, it's the sinner. Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. There's prayer. So it's how we address God, but it's also how we address the center of the circle, the place where power so often lies and where so often power is misused and abused. In 2003, Sister Dorothy Stang, a sister of Notre Dame de Namur, born in Dayton, Ohio, was murdered in Brazil. Why was she murdered? Because she identified with the people on the edges of the circle. Because she thought the loggers and the landowners who were destroying the rainforest and in the process destroying the population of the people who were indigenous to that area. Because she opposed them and spoke of justice. Finally, one of those landowners was tired of hearing her voice. Unlike the unjust judge in the parable, though, he had two hitmen meet her on the road. And there on the road, they confronted her, asked her if she had any weapons. She pulls out her Bible and begins to read the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. That's my weapon. 2 shots fired into her stomach, 2 shots in her back, 2 shots in her head. A martyr, Sister Dorothy Stang. She was one of those on the edge, raising her voice to God and to the powers that be on behalf of those who are left out. Most of us are not going to be as dramatic and as brave as that woman was. And for that reason, most of us aren't going to be martyrs. And yet, there's something in the words of Jesus. There's something in the powerful prayer of Moses on behalf of his people. There's something powerful that Jesus invites us to do in prayer and in lifting our voice. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati and the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur, in memory of Sister Dorothy Stang, ask parishes each year if they would like to nominate someone to receive the Spirit of Dorothy Stang Award. Someone who embodies some of what moved and embodied Sister Dorothy, who has demonstrated the values of Sister Dorothy Stang, which were solidarity with the poor and the earth, a commitment to Catholic social teaching, and a love for Jesus and his mission. And so, our parish council has selected Bonnie Newmeyer to be the recipient of this award this year. So I ask Bonnie to come forward and share a few words.
I've never got to meet Sister Dorothy, but I've definitely read about her and heard about her. And I just want to, just say that lots of things, but I'll try to be short. But one of my beginnings here in the neighborhood, as a college student, I was a volunteer at the Main Street Bible Center. I think Father Hilaire Valdez had something to do with that. And also the Friars of the Rhine Mission, which was here at the Friary, was at the Contact Center. And that was where I did a lot of community service work. And it was Sister Peggy, a Franciscan sister, who had me go out into the neighborhood and do home visits. And that is where I feel like I can still remember the people that I met in those early years through going on those home visits that endeared me to the neighborhood and I connected with the economic struggle that was going on here in the community. I think just because of my own family, large family, working class family, I connected with that very first. But it was through the neighborhood people, the many that I met, the many relationships that I met that taught me that you not only had to walk with the foot of charity, but that you had to walk with the foot of justice as well, and ask those questions. Why are so many people over the Rhine and in the city and across the world hungry and without decent housing? Why are so many people living on the street? And it was those questions that I asked at the time, I also was reading and learning a lot about liberation theology, community-based communities in Central America, that I knew that I had to do something. I had to act. And it was through, I feel like we call it now, the Open Rights People's Movement for Justice. So we organized and created like the Drop-In Center Shelter House, the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition, Peasley Neighborhood Center, you know, all kinds of various committees trying to work for quality of life and improvements here in the community. But it's the people living on the edge, experiencing homelessness on our streets, that taught me, I guess, the moral wisdom that's found in families that struggle on limited budgets every day, but they keep up, they get up each morning and just live their lives and try to do the best they can every day. So it's the collective work that we've done. I feel that I've been able to get this award. I mean, the activists that I got to meet, I mean, I'm thinking of people that were members of this church, Carrie Johnson, Lanny Hingston, Vermel Perkins, there's Annabelle Johnson and Greta Benton. I see Georgia Keith, my neighbor, that came out today, but it's just people like that just taught me so much. So, and we're struggling here in the neighborhood, you know, with all the power and the wealth that is here now. A lot of people have been displaced, but our movement is still trying to create affordable housing, doing programs, you know, for children in the community over at Peasley. So the fight, we just keep on keeping on, and I think the legacy of Sister Dorothy Stang, I will have to remember her more often in my own prayers so that I can keep on keeping on. And it's the people in the neighborhood, though, that is why I keep getting up. Being able to witness their boldness, their courage, their love, despite all the obstacles they experience every day, is what keeps me keeping on. And we just lost a dear sister friend, June Alexander, who lived over on Pleasant Street. All the pain and health problems she had, that she continued to, even on Zoom during the pandemic, speak out for affordable housing. And she just, her own life, she just put it to use through every way that she knew how. And so I just want to honor everybody in our neighborhood that stands up for justice and has given me the motivation and the courage to keep on keeping on. So thank you for this award. It means a lot.
Let's